It's a new day and a new game. It's Arjun Erigaisi sitting at the board during the ninth round of the FIDE Grand Swiss 2025. Arjun has the white pieces against Samuel Sevian, a super strong opponent from USA. Arjun's score is 5 points out of 8, and a win here will get him closer to the leaders of the tournament who are on 6 points right now. So Arjun will have to push with the white pieces. His opponent arrives here, Samuel, and the players are ready, a handshake, and off we go. Arjun, what's his first move going to be here? He thinks for a bit and brings his knight out to f3. And Sevian goes pawn to d5. And there comes pawn to c4. Now the thing is that black can take, black can push. Sevian goes e6. Pawn comes up to g3. And knight to f6. Bishop goes to g2. And now he plays pawn to d4. This was also the opening that Pragnananda played in this tournament. And castles, that was against Richard Rapport, Prag versus Rapport. But he had gone knight to c6 while Sevian goes c5. c5 controls more of the center. And now pawn to d3, knight comes out to c6. And e3 is a very logical move, striking in the center. Maybe you go e5 here. It's quite possible. But he goes bishop to d6. I was thinking if e5 makes a lot of sense, because pawn takes pawn, you can take back with the e pawn. Should also be some kind of prep for Arjun. Pawn takes pawn here. Takes back. And now bishop to g5 is a normal move here. But Arjun goes knight to a3. And this move tries to sort of maybe go to b5, maybe go to c2 and start expanding on the queen side. Black castles. And knight comes to c2. So now there's real pressure on the d4 pawn. e5 played. We have a reversed Benoni setup. Pawn to b4 played. You can't be taking this pawn, I believe, because after takes, you lose the important pawn on e5. So rook goes to e8. And rook e1 putting pressure. Look at Arjun's prep. He's still at 142. This is the thing about Arjun. It's a bit scary to face him. He's always well prepared. Goes pawn to a6. And now Arjun can push the pawn forward to c5. Yes, he pushes his pawn to c5. And bishop goes back to f8. Bishop to g5 played. And here Sevian goes bishop to f5. Nods his head there. And Arjun has a good 30-minute time lead. Knight to h4. Attacking the bishop on f5. Goes bishop to d7. And how is Arjun going to put more pressure? He goes queen f3. Very interesting move, because he's putting pressure on f6. Also knight f5 could come in. But black has a very nice opportunity here, which is to go b6. He plays his rook to e6. You can see Sevian is trying to pump himself up, like kind of be in that mood where he's shaking his head. Pawn to a4 played. Arjun is trying to make use of his queenside pawns, which are already a bit advanced. And for Sevian, It's a question to dissolve this tension here. He goes h6, the right move, I believe. And now taking here is correct because black has so much space. White can't be with all the pieces still on the board. So he takes. And now rook takes f6. Yes, he takes. And queen to e2 looks like a normal move. So there's some pressure on the pawn here on e5 and the bishop is opened up. Queen to c8 played by Sevian. Maybe he's aiming to go bishop h3 or even bishop g4 here. Pawn comes to b5. This direct play by Arjun Erigaisi. And Sevian takes the pawn. Pawn takes pawn by Arjun. Rook takes rook. And Arjun chops off the rook back. And the knight has to move. It goes to d8. So there's pressure now on the c5 pawn. There's also some pressure here. He takes the e5 pawn. I think taking back with the bishop makes a lot of sense, but he takes the other pawn. He takes the b5 pawn, putting pressure here. Knight takes d4. He chops off the pawn. And bishop takes d3. He's taken that pawn. And Arjun goes rook d1. Somehow, like through all these trades, it has become clear that the black pieces are a bit disjointed here. You can see the knight here, rook here. So just need to get all the pieces back on track. Maybe knight c6, c5 pawn is under a bit of pressure. Goes rook c1. And Arjun is trying to keep the game going, although it seems very difficult because black has been very solid. Queen to d7 played. And maybe knight e6 could come next to trade more pieces. Arjun plays queen to d5. Taking the queen does seem like a decent option. It's just that the b7 pawn is a bit weak. So he avoids it. He plays queen c8. And now the knight comes back to f3. Maybe Arjun wants to put his knight to e5. Then white's pieces would be very well centralized. And he goes knight c6. That's a good move, offering a trade here. Arjun jumps in, knight to e5. A choice between taking on d4 or taking on e5. He goes to take on e5. Queen takes on e5. And rook to a6 played. The bishop jumps into d5, and now it's important not to fall for bishop takes c5, as you can take and bishop f7 winning the queen. So queen d7 was played. King comes up to g2 and rook to a8. One thing you have to notice is the time on the clock. Arjun has 5 minutes 38 seconds, Sevian has 3 minutes 41 seconds, and they have to make another 7 moves. So that's a bit of a worry, and you can see Sevian always getting up from the table there. And rook d1 played. Now look at this threat, bishop takes f7, you have to be careful. Queen e7, good move played here. And instead of trading the queens, Arjun comes back, queen f4. And you go rook d7 or g5, he goes king h8, but it's a blunder. Arjun has 3 minutes 50 seconds to work this out. Sevian played it with just 2 seconds on the clock. And the reason why this move is a blunder is because knight to e5, yes. And the main point being if bishop g8, bishop f7, threatening knight g6 and also the rook, it's winning. So rook takes d5 had to be taken. And rook takes d5, f6 played. And the main point being, if you play knight f3 back, there is bishop e4, but Arjun finds this beautiful move. If you take here, f8 is hanging. If you take the rook, knight f7, g5 played, and now, ooh, he played his queen to f3, but then brought it back. That was a mistake. That was a huge mistake. Look at this. If queen f3 here, queen takes e5 for threatening here, would have been very good. Queen d4, he finds the best move. And now after fe5, he finds queen d6. Wow, that was something. That was something. Arjun, so close to making a blunder there, avoids it. And that's his sense of danger. Pawn takes, king g7, and now black has two bishops for a rook, but it's not going to be enough because Arjun's d7 pawn is very powerful. Bishop to e7. Rook to e8 played, and now you want to make a queen. King to f7. And now 40 moves have been completed. We are on move 43. He just brings his king in, king f3. He's not rushing it here. Arjun knows that he's winning now. Bishop to c2. And he makes a queen. Sevian comes back, takes the queen. Rook takes d8. And now you have this check and picking up the pawn. King comes to e6. There's also the threat of rook h8 taking this pawn. King e3. Well, h5 is played here by Sevian. And he goes rook to h8. Bishop comes and defends the pawn. And black has a pawn and a bishop for a rook, but he's going to lose that material. Rook check. If you go backwards, you get a check and you lose this pawn. The king comes up and tries to win this pawn. So king f5. But now there could be a mating idea with f3, h3 and g4 mate. Yeah, he plays it, f3. Pawn to b5. And now you can take on h5, which is also winning, but h3 is just very strong. And there's no way to stop g4 mate. And Sevian resigns. Arjun wins and moves to 6 points out of 9, just half a point shy of the leaders of the tournament. This is a good result for Arjun. He's making a case for himself. If he manages to score 2 out of 2 now, he could very well make it to the top 2. But we'll have to see how that goes. For today, I think there was that critical moment where Arjun, brought his queen back and then changed the move. I think we should have a look at that moment again, as that was maybe the critical moment where Arjun found what he should not be doing. So we are looking at the position in slow motion. Arjun has just moved his rook to d8, g5 here. And now you will see that the knight is being threatened and the queen is being threatened. The rook is safe because of knight f7 check. And Arjun is planning to come back with the queen to f3. You will see he's getting his hand to the queen. And if he had done that, queen f3, which he did, almost left his hand there. Look at that. but he did not leave it yet. The problem was queen takes e5, and now he just spotted that if rook f8, king g7, rook is hanging and bishop e4 is coming to win the queen, which is the reason why he puts his queen back on f4 here, and he now moves the queen to d4, which is amazing understanding, because after takes he sees there is queen d6, now the bishop is hanging, or you have to take and then the pawn goes and queens. So Arjun Erigaisi dodged a bullet there, and I think that was maybe the reason why he is on 6 points out of 9.
Одну фото. Yanı götür. Son yanı götür. Одну фото. Давай я посмотрим. Ja,
Вон фото.
Дань, поверни его белой клеточкой, Даня, белую клеточку.
Razım geçiyor Ali. Var mı? Сразу боролся. Там что надо дaftarında atarım. Боролся.
Тима, на меня смотри.
Böyle çıkar mı artık?
Дань, дай маркер. Даня, дай папе маркер скорее.
Вот я вот.
Только сколько сфотографий?
Тим, подойдешь? Тим, давай.
Вон, да?
Отойдет? Sorry, moment. Тима, смотри на меня. На меня смотрите. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. أنا بقول ده يحصل.